Awesome. So we've got a live connection to our crew out in Tulsa, and guys, I will say very little. Very exciting final. Pittsburgh Riverhounds, crown champions. Give us how you experienced the penalty shootout, particularly there, and maybe then we could talk about the game.
Well, I want to let John go first because he was up top, so he could see all that.
Yeah, so I've been in the press area the entire time here. Immediately to my side was Devin Kerr and Mike Watts calling this game. Also in the booth with the Tulsa media people whose hearts were slowly breaking over the course of the shootout. But I think the thing was, throughout the match, really, the Steel Army was unbelievable. The presence they had there, the vocal chants about Eric Dick that gradually got stopped as the game went on, then came back because they were undeniable. That energy fueling the players and what Dick did across the 90 minutes, but in that shootout particularly, I mean, unbelievable experience. So cool to see in person in front of this crowd at this facility. You can't say more about the arc of Pittsburgh, and to have it be another shootout, another defensive battle really feels like it's their identity.
Yeah, and from where I was down in front of the Steel Army on the pitch. Later, whenever I have a steady internet connection and I can get everything, Edrak literally almost ran me over. If you see John's video, there's a guy on the ground in a pink pullover thing, and that's the guy he almost ran over. That was me. So it was really cool to see it all happen live. And I don't know, the match itself was fun. You saw Stefan Lukic, and for me, that was my pivotal moment of which way is this game going to go, because there have been two heroes this entire playoff run. It's been Stefan Lukic and it has been Eric Dick. I felt whoever got the best of it was going to win the penalty shootout. And that's kind of how it goes. Dick gets the save, and that was game over from there.
And I'm sure we'll work through the arc of the game as a whole. When Lukic came in, it's that 71st minute double sub, and it's the presence he had as this hold-up presence. There were a lot of moments for the initial run here where Delu and Khalil Ahmedkar, it was a little bit easy for Tulsa's defenders or rather Pittsburgh's defenders to get the ball off of them. Lukic, not only is he a great in-box presence who keeps scoring the late goals, it's that physicality, it's the hold-up. He is that intermediary that lets you build through the lines, then find your way to cross towards Calhera. It felt like he gave them the momentum. And so when Dick stopped that penalty of this guy who has been the player of the postseason for Tulsa, it felt like a game changer.
And with the post-match scenes, first off, went straight over to the Steel Army. It was a great party over there. They their fans over there crying. And I was hearing one of them tell the Pittsburgh owner, I've been a fan since day one. And he was mid-30s, early 40s, and he's just crying, sobbing. And we're starting to truly get to that point of, okay, people, this has been around for multiple people's lifetimes at this point, right? Like the Pittsburgh Riverhounds is as old as me, 1 year older than John, right? There are people who are younger than the Riverhounds handsomely. And I think that is really cool in of itself. There was some FC Tulsa players that came over to the celebrations and tried to fight. So that was a thing that happened post-game that did not get caught. It was absolutely insane. And then after everybody got pulled away, because there were fans trying to rush the field to try to defend the players, which, by the way, why would you ever want to fight a professional athlete? I don't know if people have ever seen, John and I talked about this, Devin Kerr is over here. Massive human being, stands way over me. Former professional athlete. People who think I can fight this athlete are either drunk or stupid or both. And I don't know, but it was incredible to just see that much passion from both sides. I mean, the fact that Tulsa players wanted to go over there and start something shows how much this did mean to them as well.
On the post-match stuff, was there a trophy presentation?
Kinda. They did not do a formal one. I think more or less the players just kind of took the trophy and just started celebrating because they said, "Hey, go ahead, give it to Robbie," and they were trying to, or not Robbie, excuse me, Danny Griffin, and they were trying to corral them to the middle of the field, but Pittsburgh just started partying too soon. So I think there was an attempt of a trophy lift, but the Riverhounds did not have any of it.
So on the, we talked about the cruelty.
I need to tell you, the trophy is broken. They already broke the trophy.
That was quick.
Like literally the screw that holds the screw that holds in the handle ripped clean out. And so then the players, I think it was Junior A2, was like actively trying to put the screw back in and was not doing well. And everybody was like, just move on. And he goes, no, I cannot. And then was actively trying to fix him while everybody else is like, just move on. It's okay. And he was really fixated on that.
With you guys, obviously the match itself, we talked about, or I was talking about the fact that penalties, the cruelest way to decide something like this, particularly at the end of 120 minutes, where it felt at any point it could have swung wildly, like one way or the other, particularly in that first half.
No, absolutely. And in some ways, it's what you expected, right? Like these teams hadn't conceded through the postseason. They are defensive teams. Even Pittsburgh, we've seen Eric Dick do this twice already in the playoffs. It felt like both teams at the same time took swings to try to get over the line and stop this from happening. If you think about early in the match, there was a lot of that Charles All, Robbie Mertz changing sides thing that we saw last week. Tulsa with the big subs, not only with Lukic coming in, but then you go into the extra time period. They're moving Weber into the front line. They're getting Delence-Pierre into the midfield. They are trying to change up the shape in a way that's going to let them go on and win this thing properly. I think in terms of drama, you couldn't have done much better than that shootout because it felt like the moment. But for me, this was the most open game we've seen from either of these teams throughout the postseason. Like, yes, it ended up being a defensive result, but here live, it felt like there was a lot of end-to-end action in a way I maybe didn't anticipate.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned Pierre being moved back into the midfield. When we were talking to, it was either Devin before the game or it might have been Caleb Sewell. The one of the two, we kind of talked about how is this game going to go? How do we feel like it's going to go? And I was like, I think that Pittsburgh is going to take the sting out in the first half. And in the second half, they're going to come out flying and try to nab a goal early. And they did. That second half, Pittsburgh was easily the better team. And then they move Pierre back. He becomes the third center back. After the first half, they were more on the front foot. He was playing that number 6. And then as Lukic came in, as Tulsa started to make more changes, and Pittsburgh made a couple substitutions themselves, they pushed Pierre back because it's firmly a 50-50 game. And both teams started just full on going for it. You saw Pittsburgh bringing on more attackers at the end of it. I was fully convinced that Vincent was just going to keep his defenders on, leave everything as it is, and just see out to 90 minutes and see what happens. No, like he was going to win this in 90, and it was really impressive to watch.
And what was so interesting about the substitution patterns, you're taking Augie Williams out of the game and bringing someone like Burton Jackson, who has been out of favor since the coaching change. Like, I think that is fair to say. So for him to come in and have that trust of, we think he can be either the guy in transition or the guy who takes the first penalty kick, crazy to see. And I think it top down is illustrative of what Rob Vincent has been able to do. There is trust in this group. Everybody knows their role, but they're freer within it. That's endlessly impressive on that side of things. But yeah, speaking to the Pittsburgh changes, they were uncomfortable down the stretch. It felt like they were going to concede at that added time. It's the heart of this team. It's what Eric Dick did, not only in terms of the saves, but that box command.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I was doing the stats mid-game. His season high for catches in the box this season was 4, and he had 8 today. Like that tells you everything about what you need to stop Tulsa, frankly, but also how excellent Eric Dick is.
Yeah, and during our preview to this on Tuesday, I was discussing how Eric Dick can truly control a box like nobody else I've seen, and not to just be filled with innuendos the whole time. No one does box control like Dick. Truly. Like, there was only one moment where he spilled a ball in the first half, and you're like, heart and throat, is this how this concedes? From there, he went out and had some really challenging crosses where he was having to put his body on the line. I believe it was in the end of the first half of extra time where he collects one, it takes a big blow, gets back up, collects a second, and he just goes down. And I have not seen Eric Dick just go down in pain like that. His body was taking an absolute toll, and he was still going out there and collecting with absolute safe hands the whole time. Any one of those, like, just kind of drop passes, and then not to throw him under the bus from last week, but we saw shakes last week where he's punching everything, he's dropping a couple things, and it's just creating more moments of chaos for New Mexico. Eric Dick was able to slow down the game, get Tulsa out of it for 6 to 10 seconds, let everybody reset, catch their breath just a little bit.
Well, and you think about that in terms of the actual goalkeeping, but it's the distribution. He attempted 37 passes in this game, and he attempted 37 long passes. Every single time he touched the ball, it was slowing the game down, trying to tilt the field with those long passes so you don't succumb to the Tulsa press. We saw what happened last week if you try to play through it. It's not going to work. And there were long stretches where Pittsburgh wasn't winning the header. They weren't winning the second ball. But just by moving the ball 40, 50 yards downfield, you've given yourself that innate ability to control the game state a little bit more, and certainly more than New Mexico did. And it's just that accumulation of small little advantages that Eric Dick gave you in almost every facet of play that proved to be so decisive.
It felt like there were times in the match where both teams, for different reasons, were playing a bit of a field position game, where Pittsburgh was intent on playing long to avoid being pressed. Tulsa is playing long to try to trigger the press on Pittsburgh. So it was like both were playing that. And so there were these stretches where it's kind of ping pong and like back and forth throughout. And I think one of the things that stuck out to me throughout the match was, we know that Tulsa likes to get the ball out wide. What did you guys make of the change? Was it just a legs thing for Sousa and Stauffer to come off? Because I did think that they were quite influential in their buildup. And when the change came on, it took a little bit for Dom to get up to speed, but Dom ultimately almost was maybe a hair's breadth away from making the vital contribution. But St. Clair, maybe it was tougher for him to get to grips with what Lucas Stauffer had been providing, maybe from my perspective.
Yeah, the Dom change from my perspective felt very impactful on a fresh legs deal. And I think what they lost with Dom bringing him on was those long throws. There was a moment where I believe it was Bautista was towards the front of the 6-yard box, and Dom tries to get a long throw in. It's a little flat. It's not, doesn't have quite the loft on it. It doesn't beat the first man, which are missing with Sousa. That was another set piece opportunity that Tulsa could not take advantage of. However, technically what Dom brought, especially in extra time, he was great. He had some quickness, not as fast as Sousa, but still enough about him, enough technical prowess about him to not be overwhelmed by the moment. The St. Clair, I thought he was good, but they didn't really go for that side as much. It's not like we saw in the first half where Khalil Medkar was just kind of going everywhere and was just filling in those spaces. They kind of lost that. So I feel like the impact of St. Clair was not as felt. But defensively, in the first bit of extra time, I thought he was great. He was able to shut down attacks pretty well. You lost a little bit going forward from Stauffer, but not as much as you gained from a little bit of defensive solidity.
Yeah, and the whole arc of how Dom was used in this game was interesting, because when he comes on in tandem with Lukic, he's playing as the left winger, and he's taking defenders on. He's got that speed. You really felt like he was impactful. you enter extra time, he goes back to the wingback spot, and that's when you start to feel the pain with the throws for sure. That said, I thought St. Clair was quite good up at the right. There were a number of moments where he's just got this ability to hit a cross on either foot and hit an early cross in a way that was challenging Pittsburgh, and in a way that really serviced what you've got when you have Calhera and Lukic on the pitch together. Like, if you have those two target players, somebody with that versatility as a passer was valuable. Did it work out in the end? Obviously not. But I think it was a good move, and I thought St. Clair was pretty good in his stint.
For the overall experience, the being there for the match, like, tell us a little bit about ONEOK and what it was like in there. I know, Kaylor, we got some of it at pre-match and halftime, but let us just give us a sense for how it went, and then obviously, I guess what happens now that. I think there were some assumptions about what would happen if the home team won and what happens next party wise. But with Pittsburgh being the celebrating side, what happens now?
Hop on the bus and party back to Pittsburgh. Like, I don't know. But I mean, the atmosphere from where I was insane. I just stayed down by both groups, the away end and the SG. And I just stayed right there, just experienced it. And you had moments where the FC Tulsa fans who were not in the supporter section started trying to out-chant the Steel Army. They were just trying to cover them up. And that was a real moment of like, hey, this soccer thing's happening. Right. Trying to drown out the away end and doing everything in your power. It's like, okay, this is really cool. There was a moment when in the first half where Pittsburgh came really close to scoring. I think it was when there was the Biasi put in that cross to the back post that hits the back post. Pittsburgh fans are in there chanting, "This place is a library. This place is a library." And like, just fun stuff like that was happening the whole time. There were parts of the stadium that started the FC Tulsa chants, not just the supporter section. And then there was a real moment, the moment it hit extra time, everyone got quiet. You could tell everybody was freaked out. And then the final whistle blew and Pittsburgh fans started going nuts. And Tulsa fans got a little quiet. They were cheering them on. The PA guy was saying, hey, make some noise. Let's get excited, all that kind of stuff. But it was Pittsburgh fans that you could tell they had so much confidence in what they were about to watch. Atmosphere-wise, it was one of the most interesting atmospheres I've seen. But ONEOK was a great venue for this. Genuinely, the lawn was filled out. The fans that were all around the pitch were just completely invested the entire time. And the away contingency was just as fun.
And up from my vantage, I was right on top of those Pittsburgh away supporters, but they were loud, man. They were really into this thing. And thinking more holistically about the day here in Tulsa, like what you had with the Tulsa supporters out here at 7 a.m. for the tailgate. I saw a bunch of them beforehand, and they couldn't have been nicer. You could feel the welcoming of these fans who maybe aren't here all the time. They wanted to give this huge experience to people who are just getting into soccer, who haven't been the season ticket holders, but have been excited by this title run. So you had that energy, and what Kaylor mentioned with the standing room only, like, I bet they were pushing 10,000 ultimately in terms of attendance. I haven't seen the number reported quite yet. And it sounded like it, frankly. Like, I know, Phil, you have the vantage point of when we were in Portland and what that felt like. This was same kind of deal where the place was packed, the fans were engaged. I always look for, and perhaps it's judgmental, it's like, how are the fans reacting if, say, someone like Stefan Lukic comes in?
They went nuts.
And the fact that the crowd erupted when this guy who was a Chattanooga Red Wolf last year came onto the field, that says everything about how Tulsa has bought into what they are doing with this team. So yeah, it stings to go home with a loss for a lot of those folks, but I think it's going to be a moment where they realize, oh, coming to these games at a very nice venue is going to be something that I'm interested in doing in 2026 and beyond.
The thing I'll say, as a seasoned watcher of a team that plays on a baseball field, the thing that was said, early on in the chat, of my watch along and all that sort of stuff was like pitch looks kind of iffy, all this sort of stuff, just from camera. And it was one of those things where it's like, I know that like you'll be able to tell the quality of the pitch not on what it looks like aerially, because there are a lot of times where it's like it can look greener than it does at pitch level. It can look more full when it's really not. It can look brown when it's actually fine. And the thing that will tell is the seams. Like, did they make it game ready where it's not tearing up? It's not like nobody's playing like totally weird hops. Like nobody's like, you know, it's not carpet or whatever. Like people were, and from what I could tell, like at no point during my watch along or anything was I conscious of the fact that they were playing on a baseball field, which I think is unique because the other baseball venues, I would say, assert the baseball of it all a lot more than ONEOK did today.
I think the only time I ever noticed anything with the pitch was really at the end of the second half. There were players losing their footing a little bit more often. There were a couple moments where Robbie Mertz was trying to keep a ball from going out and was just like dying. And there was a lot of slipping in the second half. But how much of that is baseball field versus this is just a field that's getting worn? I don't know. But that's really the only time I noticed. Other than that, there was not a moment of this is a baseball field. The only time I truly had that I got taken out of it kind of experience was honestly when I did the halftime Brandon from you when I was in the dugout.
The dugout.
Like I was doing it from the dugout, and I was just like, Clayton Kershaw was in here at one point. Yeah. Like that's kind of cool, but also Clayton Kershaw was in here. But other than that, it genuinely didn't feel like a baseball field.
Yeah, completely agreed. I mean, if you're here, it feels like it's a soccer venue. It's as simple as that. And it played like that throughout the 90 minutes.
Yeah. And I would give a shout out to CBS and the production team and all that sort of stuff for never making it feel awkward or weird. Like I thought the telecast was quite good in terms of making it just feel like a soccer match. And there was never like the odd angle or unseeable part of the field or something like that where they had to weirdly cut. So anyways, I guess what now, right? Like this is the finale of the season. These two teams like just had the most final end that you can have, one happy, one sad. What does it mean for Tulsa to lose this final? And then I guess what does it mean for Riverhounds to win it? Wait, I may have lost your guys' audio. Oh, wait, now it's back. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, possibly.
That mic is not picking you up. Now you're sounding like it maybe is something else. I think like the laptop mic is working, but that one is not.
Okay.
Let me.
Oh wait, maybe now it came back.
Yeah, how about now? Question mark.
Now it came back.
Okay. Yeah, I mean on the Tulsa side, can't explain it. Aliens. Yeah, but on the Tulsa side of things, it's very hard in the moment to think about. We just lost a championship game, right? Like that's everything you've been building towards. This team hadn't made the playoffs since 2021. It's Luke Spencer's first year in charge. I wrote today only 4 of the players who have been meaningful contributors this year were on the team last year. This, in a lot of ways, is the start of a new era for the FC Tulsa project. So the fact that you've got this far, you've expanded the fan base in the way that you have. I mean, talk about a building block. Is there a club in the West that's better positioned to compete immediately again next season? I don't think so. Tulsa is going to be able to recruit based on this. We know that Caleb Sewell is brilliant in terms of player ID. You really couldn't ask for much better in terms of where this is going to go from here.
Yeah, and also on a Tulsa front, I hope I'm not saying anything that I'm not supposed to, but it was not said in confidence. Sewell was pretty upfront about the recruiting this year. Sure. And he said to us, I had to tell Luke Spencer, your team's not going to be ready until June or July. And the fact that this team was not the finished product until that late, I think more or less speaks so highly of Spencer and Sewell, where if I am a Tulsa player or I'm a free agent, right, and I'm looking at somebody, they were able to do this on what is essentially 2 to 3 months of your complete roster. Imagine what you can do with a full off season with a roster, what you can truly build with that. And that's super impressive for me on the Pittsburgh side of this. I mean, it's not hard to sell somebody on Pittsburgh, right? At least it shouldn't be, because new stadium's coming. It's one of the best fan bases that the country has to offer. Forget the USL. And this is a city that embraces this club. And I want to say something mean, I guess. The biggest thing that kept people from going to Pittsburgh was Bob Lilly. People did not want to play for Bob Lilly unless you're fresh out of college and you were kind of used to it and you want a professional job. We're assuming he's not coming back at this point. Pittsburgh just got so much easier to recruit because you have a new person, a new voice, someone who doesn't have the reputation of a Lilly. Yes, brilliant coach, wonderful coach, known to be hard, so hard on his players. You have someone who's, I don't want to call him player friendly because we don't know that, but more player friendly. Sure. And that of itself is going to recruit like crazy for the Riverhounds.
Yeah, and if you're a player who watched this run, obviously there's the appeal of, oh, I could join the team that's won the title. At the same time, Rob Vincent got them to this point because they're playing freer soccer. Like, these players aren't just in their specific little piece within that Pittsburgh puzzle. There is a level of expressiveness that must be attractive. And in some ways, this is ahead of schedule for Pittsburgh. Oh, yeah. Like, you think about what they're doing with Highmark Stadium and the expansion of that for 2027, 2028 beyond. That felt like the moment where maybe they were going to contend. So the fact that they've gone on and won a title already, and you've got this bona fides on the pitch, that's amazing for them as a club.
Also, a USL celebrity just walked in.
Shout out Trey.
Hi, Trey.
Oh, hey.
Hi, guys.
Yeah.
Publicly now, congratulations on the second kid. I already told you that, but publicly again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, child born yesterday, already here grinding. Seriously,
Wow.
no one's like you. But another part of the Pittsburgh thing to me, and the moment you talked about the freer soccer, for me, what I immediately thought of was when we talked to Ollie Gage earlier this year, and he talked about how players were coming up to him in 2024 and saying, this is not the same Loudon team. This looks like fun. This looks like fun to play with. This looks like an attractive game to play. Now you're looking at a Pittsburgh side that has that attractive game to play, that has the freer movement. You just became a more enjoyable brand of soccer for players, which means a lot. Yeah, winning is great and all, but if you're miserable because you have to stay in your little bubble at all times, maybe go to the team that's almost as good, but you can have fun.
Well, there will be plenty of time for the post-mortem and to understand what all of this means. But guys, any thoughts or things from Tulsa that you want people to know before I guess I'll probably let you go and get on with whatever happens next.
I have a couple things, and I want to start first with the down, and then I want to bring it up. There was no question as the players were walking onto the field about pay the players. They wore the shirts that said pay the players. Yeah. The Riverhounds fans all had signs that say play the players. Like pro rel, you can't pro rel without paying the players. They all had signs. The season's done. The CBA is going to be up in about a month. We are ticking down on this, and I think it's important for fans to know that what you saw there, the freedom of the players having a good time, that can only happen if they are paid a livable wage, if they are given what they are supposed to have, medical care, everything. That's coming up. That's something to keep an eye on. We are
Yeah.
getting to the Rhinestone. The owners have nothing to hide with anymore. They can't say season's going on, can't sit down and negotiate. No, it is. We are in the stretch of 6 weeks. On the positive side of this, it was just fun. It was just so much fun. The entire time there was Augie Williams when he missed what was essentially an open goal. You knew in the moment just how impactful it was because you're like, are they going to get another chance? And then they did. They kept building chances. Defensively, they were strong. I mean, yes, FC Tulsa was getting into dangerous places, but how many times did you see a Pittsburgh Riverhound block across? And if it made it all the way to the box, it got caught. It was just really fun to be a part of. It was everything that I wanted this final to be. And I was a little worried when I was walking up. I was like, man, it's so cold. If I was a casual, I would not show up to this. I am so cold. Absolutely not. And Tulsa showed out.
Yeah, and thinking about my experience, I've been here for a day and a half at this point. Tulsa is a great place to visit. It's more walkable than you think, better food scene than you maybe would imagine. I've never been to a city with friendlier people. If you're ever in town, highly recommend the Greenwood Rising Museum about the race massacre that happened there. I went with Nicholas Murray the first time I got to meet him in person, which was probably a dour way to meet a new person. But hey, it was very much a matching of kind of nerd energies. But yeah, I think Tulsa has a lot to offer, and it's really emblematic of a lot of the cities across this league. It is smaller markets than you'd expect in a D1, let's say. All these cities have personality and something that makes them unique and awesome. And the playoffs can be a way to put that on the pedestal. So the fact that Tulsa got here, put on this show for the league, that's an advertisement for the city as much as it is for the club or the USL itself.
Well, thank you guys for reporting live, and thank you for making the trip out to Tulsa and for representing out there.
We missed you.
I am sorry I couldn't make the trip. I made up for it by doing a 3-hour stream where I just tried to find different ways to make dick jokes about him claiming the ball in the box. When you said it was double the amount that he's done, there was literally a point where I'm like, I don't know other ways to say this anymore. So I felt for Mike in that moment because he's navigated it quite well, and I do think he's purposely saying big all the time whenever anything Eric Dick does. Anyways, so yeah, thank you guys for making the trip. Hope all of the travels are all good, and hopefully you enjoy Tulsa tonight, despite the fact that maybe we were thinking there might be more of a party atmosphere, but now you'll get to hopefully enjoy it. And Kaylor, the Iron Man drive back, best of luck, buddy.
Yeah. Shout out to Kaylor for the absolute gauntlet he has gone through to get here. But yeah, looking forward to the rest of the experience, and thank you for holding it down, Phil.
Yeah, sure thing. No, thank you guys, and thanks to everybody who hung out with me for this whole time, because holy cow. And the show, thanks for listening and all of that stuff, and we'll see you guys right back on Tuesday probably. So
yeah, we love you, and we'll be back soon.
Bye guys.
Thank you for watching another episode of the USL Show. The USL Show is now proudly part of the Protagonist podcast family. Please go to protagonistsoccer.com to check out more work. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see everyone again next time.